Welcome, guys, to the Out of Office podcast, where we talk to industry leading experts in the space of online businesses. So, if you're curious to get started or if you want to scale up your business, this is the one stop solution for that. We at Out of Office Podcast, which is powered by Syncupp, are building the world's largest free community for digital businesses and digital business owners. And you can access this community by clicking on the first link in the description. Hope you enjoy this podcast. Welcome, guys. This is Ritwik Ahlawat, and I'm the host of the Out of Office podcast powered by Syncupp. And today I'm joined by Anindya Mishra. We also call him Nick. He's the co founder of Brandslane and also Agency Scaling Systems. We've already talked about it on our last podcast with Faisal, but this session is going to be even more value packed. It's going to be about systems, SOPs, and all the things in between. So, Nick, thank you so much for joining in, man.
Thanks, Ritwik, for having me here. And I
Absolutely.
look forward to the kind of chat we are going to have here because I know the kind of interesting person you also are. So yeah,
Yeah.
let's have a chat around that.
That's great. And for the people who have tuned in just now, I think one fun fact they should know about Nick is that he was also a songwriter. So we can expect him to sing towards the end of the podcast as well. So Nick, be ready. All right. But yeah, jokes apart, man.
Let's try
Thank
our
you so much
lucks
for
for that.
joining. Yeah, definitely. We'll go for it. So, Nick, thank you so much for joining in. And people already know that how you know at what scale you guys are doing Brandslane. Brandslane is obviously one of the top D2C agencies right now in India, and soon to be in the world as well, I'm sure. Agency scaling systems has personally helped me and all our peers as well into the agency space scale up very aggressively. It's been almost a year since I've been a part of agency scaling systems. So in general, though, I would want to know, what attracted you towards this whole agency space in the first place, and how you went about it. Did somebody motivate you? Was it the circumstances? How did you go about this?
All right. Yeah. Long story short, it was the kind of when I started, it was probably around 2016, 17 when I started consuming content
Mm-hmm.
on Instagram. Instagram used to be like it is way bigger now,
Hmm.
but then it used to be very professionally inclined, where people used to like post about a lot of their content related to professional niches
Hmm.
like travel and all. People do that right now, but it has changed its narrative a little bit. But that's what got me into the space. Internal wise, I was always inclined to not be inside the corporate field and all. I planned to quit it maybe a month into my corporate job,
Hmm.
but it extended, and sooner or later, like in due 6 months of time almost,
Yeah.
I quit that. I moved away, and at that time itself, like from here and there, e-commerce was buzzing a lot.
Hmm.
Drop shipping was really kicking off at that time,
Yeah.
and I used to be following back then also, and right now also, like a lot of people that I personally get inspired from
Hmm.
are from outside India,
Yeah.
and whatever trends and cultures are popping and buzzing there,
Hmm.
that's what inspired me. And at that time, it was very much e-commerce and dropshipping,
Yeah.
Amazon FBA, and all those things. Uh, but guys like Dan De Silva and all these people, who have been the OG, they were the ones that inspired me. So I thought, let's go ahead and try what it's about. So
Yeah.
yeah, I tried washing my hands into the river, like whatever was flowing in front of me. So I tried that. Worked a little bit, didn't work a little bit. Tried next thing. Next thing was funnels. Came back to drop shipping, made it a success.
Hmm.
But then again, the fickleness of it working out for you for the long term,
Hmm.
that didn't really attract me. So
Yeah.
the next thing I knew was something that I was sharing on my social media back in those days about e-commerce and the results I was getting through dropshipping. I mean, people from the community Facebook groups used to be quite active back then also.
Yeah.
So from there itself, like people started asking me for help, and it just a charity sort of a thing or helpful sort of a thing,
Hmm.
it became like a passionate thing that, okay, no, let's try this because this sounds like more lucrative approach to do
Yeah.
business.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's
That's
how
great.
the agency Brandslane came about.
Hmm.
And right about the same time, I was taking a lot of courses. So met my co-founder, few members of the team also came from that same program. So yeah, just
Okay,
happened.
interesting. Because like I remember, with our chat with Faisal, he was into like aquaguard. He was like aquaguard salesman, and that is like a completely different space, right? And he also mentioned that he met you, and you
Yeah.
were already into like the e-com space. So, obviously, I think one big motivator from everybody I've spoken to, they say that, obviously they have always known that, okay, I want to make money or I don't want to get into the corporate culture, right? So, when you got
Yeah.
started into the ecom space, what were some of the things that, you learned about this whole space like before you didn't know, and then once you tried your hands, you got your hands dirty, you learned more about that space, and what was that eventual point where you said that, okay, I've tried my hand at this, now let's transition into the agency space?
Oh, it's a lot because unless you actually do, it doesn't matter. Like you belong to a business family or you are of that mindset where you have done business or not done business, but when you actually finally do it by like burning the bridge behind you,
Yeah.
that's when the reality hits about how real and how difficult or how transitioning it is.
Yeah.
So it was big deal for me, especially because no one in my family or even in the nearby friendship,
Yeah.
I don't have anyone who is into business.
Hmm.
So it was quite a hit for me, and
Yeah.
I slowly and steadily figured out a lot of stuff. The biggest realization was not having a cash flow into the business for doing e-commerce,
Yeah.
and then trying to survive through the pennies that we were making at the initial time in drop shipping and all those stuff,
Hmm.
and then figuring out the next cash flow, because I did corporate job for only a very short time, 7 8 months,
Yeah.
and whatever savings I had back then,
Yeah.
it was sufficient to like just keep business or the drop shipping at a certain level, but
Hmm.
not grow beyond. So what happened was, I remember very clearly, there came a time where I scaled very high,
Yeah.
and then there came a point where it fell very like quite negative,
Drastically.
quite bad.
Hmm.
But from that point, I had to know like this is the only thing I knew at that time, drop shipping. So I can't like leave it at the lowest point. I try
Yeah.
to make it back up,
Yeah.
but then this fickleness of like not being sure whether it's going to stay up or not. So I wanted to find something honestly which can be compounding, which can be sort of like a proper business. And I remember this video of a bunch of like OG guys in the field back then. I think there was one like ODI production, Iman Ghazi,
Yes. Yes.
Dan De Silva, all these people like collected together, and they were trying to figure out like what is the best
Hmm.
business model of these current times.
Yes.
I think that's where I tried to pick and choose a lot of pointers about pros and cons of each of these different things, like
Yeah.
affiliate marketing and
Hmm.
all these things.
Yeah.
So that's what made me a little bit more clear
Yeah.
about what should be doing. And honestly, like agency came easy to me because I already have done like creatives, website design for Shopify and all, product
Yeah.
finding, marketing it, making videos, all of these things I've done myself. So
Yeah. Yeah.
when I started picking up brands, it came very easy. That's what I was doing earlier, and then Faisal met me, and then we started this thing full
Yeah.
fledged.
So, you mentioned dropshipping. One of
Yeah.
our most popular videos on our other YouTube channel, it was a dropshipping video where I tried dropshipping for some time. It has gotten over like 80,000 views, right? So a lot of people still are interested into that whole thing, right? Into that whole dropshipping
Yeah.
space because it is so lucrative, right? Especially they see something online and they see those, lakhs and lakhs of orders on, those Shopify screenshots. But I want to know from you, what did you try then that worked? And if you have to do dropshipping all over again in 2024, what would
Yeah.
you do differently? Or would you not even
Okay,
indulge
so
in
at
dropshipping?
that time, I'm down for trying it.
Yeah.
Let's see if there comes a point where I can do it again. But at that time, the mistake I did was, like I told you, it was my first business. So there comes a scarcity when you are investing into your first business, and there is money going and deducting every single day, and you're not making anything back on that.
Hmm.
So now that I realize and I look at my campaigns from back in the days, there were a lot of campaigns which actually worked. Now that we do a lot of testing for some of the drop shipping brands or maybe proper brands, then we know that okay, this kind of campaign really works.
Hmm.
So few of those campaigns really work, but I did not know that okay, this is going to compound over time, this campaign, and then it is going to start getting results. So a lot of those things, like just the hesitation and scarcity in the mind, that made me pull back, and maybe I could have stayed in dropshipping itself, or e-commerce in general.
Yeah.
Later on, I went to do a private label, and I was having a warehouse in Canada and trying to
Oh.
ship out of that.
Hmm.
So did that, but who knew that could have been what I would be doing right now if I just did not have like the scarcity mindset. So that is one thing that that
Yeah.
happened very interesting. And
Yeah.
so if anyone wants to even right now start off, I would say like for me also, I would just like have that mindset where I'm not looking at the immediate returns because of course my other businesses are kicking in for me right now. So
Yeah.
it's not from a scarcity mindset. So maybe it would be a better success for me right now.
Yeah. I think
I
what
mean, it
you
was a
mentioned.
success for me back then also, but probably it would be going higher if I tried this time.
You know what? Like that is so true. I think
Yeah.
everybody who's into the agency space, they have tried drop shipping and they have failed there, and then they've
Yeah.
come into the agency space. I'm one of those people as well. But what you mentioned about mindset, I think that is so crucial and so less talked about, right? People talk about, drop shipping, or people talk about these other different things, right? I was
Yeah.
speaking about this with my brother yesterday, and I think it was some podcast from, I think, Luke Belmar, or one of these guys, and he talked about how you never make money, you always attract money, right?
Yeah.
So what does that mean? It means that, say for example, if you're doing drop shipping, right, a skilled media buyer or a skilled drop shipper knows that, okay, this campaign has an edge over a long period of time, or this product has an
Yeah.
edge over a long period of time, and they know that it might take 20-30 days for the money to roll over, but it will work, right? And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that is the difference between somebody who attracts money and somebody who's chasing money, and somebody who's just trying to make money, right? So I think that's a very important point. So for anybody who's listening, I think, first fix your mindset. If you think that you're right now a little bit fickle minded in terms of, okay, what will happen to the ROI and this and that, you have a scarcity mindset. First, try and get your
Yeah.
hands dirty. Shoot your shot from other people's shoulders, right? Work with some drop shipping brands, do internships and stuff like that. Get comfortable with the idea of burning money and making money. I think that is something
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
people should do. Yeah.
No,
Uh,
100% agree with that. Totally. I mean,
yeah.
uh,
And talking
like
about,
looking at
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, just looking at business, like that was my like concluding point, that looking at business from a business standpoint where you first invest, it doesn't matter, like even in service businesses we try to like invest into tools and maybe a salesperson or something.
Yeah.
So that is something that people can really like settle in their heart, even though the entry of barrier is sorry, the barrier of entry is very low. People can come in, but yeah, that is
Yeah.
one investment you have to give.
Yeah, I think people also look at investment only from a monetary perspective. Like when they're doing, see, like there's also two types of, I think, investments in my opinion. One is a time investment, one is a monetary investment. With drop shipping, it is both a time and a monetary investment. With
Yeah.
agencies and freelancing, like people who are watching, who want to get started, who are already into the space, and want to scale up, more importantly, they should know that, okay,
Yeah.
obviously, initially, like we talked about this with Faisal as well, that with agencies and freelancing, you can, get clients by investing a lot of time, right? And that is the idea you need to get comfortable with, that some businesses, they're both monetary and time investments, some are only time investments. So understanding that difference is also very important, I feel, right? So,
Yeah, I don't remember correctly, but a friend of mine, like I think it was last year, when she told me that there are three pillars in business. There is quality, there is speed, and there is money. And you can only have two at one time. If you want money and you want quality, then you will be compromising on speed, something like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
But if you think properly, it does turn up. Like if you invest more money, you can go faster. But are you going as fast that it would compromise the quality? That's
yeah,
something that you have to see.
yeah.
So initially, we don't have money, we don't have much time, but we can ensure quality, which is one of the things that we can stand by. I think
Yeah.
whether it's like any kind of product business or service business.
Yeah, true. Like talking about, I think that's a perfect segue to talking about like the agency space, right? Like we talked about, I think it was with Anas, we talked about how today, like the market, there are like, I think 5 levels of, not sure, it's called 5 levels of, I think, customer understanding or customer sophistication, rather, right? 5 levels of customer sophistication, especially with the agency and the freelancing space, that customer sophistication has reached level 5. So now just having a different service will not work. Ensuring the quality is what really matters, right? So when you guys got started, when you and Faisal got started, I'm sure you had your case studies from, your drop shipping days. But how did
Yeah.
you acquire clients back then? And how would you say acquiring clients has changed now in 2024?
It's pretty much the same. See, I always am an advocate that the business concepts stay the same. I remember this. It's funny that this came to
Yeah.
my mind, but right when like it was the inception of Brandslane, and we used to hustle it out. We were having this guy connected to us who is a vice president of a very 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 big company, and their
Okay.
family people own a brand. So he connected us with these people, and we were trying to give them a in-person consulting. And this guy was sitting, this vice president of marketing of a big firm, is just sitting there trying to absorb from youngsters like us. And one
Yeah.
thing very important that he said after like a 3 day, very exhaustive consulting was, so he understood like that marketing hasn't really changed. It was his words that, so it's not that different right now. It's just like you guys are doing it online and you're contextualizing it to online terms, but the
Yeah.
basic concepts are still the same.
Hmm.
So that's what always stays true in acquiring people, acquiring clients as well.
Yeah.
It stays the same always. You, if you have the means, you can start off from a very rapid growth pace, whether you can do outbound with people,
Hmm.
uh, like for example having a cold caller or having an email person or having maybe a door-to-door salesman, whatever it is in your business,
Yeah.
or you can do advertising. It will get you faster to your destination. Or you can, if you have a crunch, or if you're starting out
Yeah.
from ground up, you're bootstrapped, you can still do the word of mouth. You can still set up systems in referrals by doing one good work, maybe giving a month off in service fee and asking for a referral. So
Yeah.
just the systems of referral, spreading out good word about your experience, your expertise, that really plays out. I think it comes down to what leverage you have as a founder.
Yeah.
Do you have money or do you have skills?
Hmm.
So if you have money, of course you can use that. But if you have skills, then you need to spread it out that you have that skill and you are better than other people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is exactly like how I personally did it back in that day for Brandslane. And the opposite I did for agency scaling system. So for
Yeah.
Brandslane, I started out by showing my own case studies, my own numbers, and this was just for promoting my own numbers. Why? Because everyone else was doing it. It wasn't for really acquiring people.
Hmm. Yeah.
People did come, and they were willing to pay me, so I just went that route, and
Yeah.
agency came about.
Hmm.
But that was back in that day. And then the second side came when, after running Brandslane, I wanted to start with agency scaling system. So the first thing and foremost we did here was just like use a couple of friends to do some sort of a webinar. And then
Hmm.
the next step was just build a landing page, use the
Yeah.
money, and run ads. Simple as
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. But like for people, who are like watching and they want to go a more tactical route, like they want the exact strategy per se. Obviously, we'll not go into the exact strategy because you do that in agency scaling systems. But like let's just talk about two things. Like one, if you want to do outbound, say probably on LinkedIn or on email, what should be your approach to that? And then the second part of that is like if you want to do advertising, how you're doing for like probably agency scaling systems or now even for Brandslane, how should somebody go about that? Because I'm sure there's a very stark difference in both the approaches. In one, like I'll tell you just my perspective. I think for ads, as you guys have taught us, that you should have a very good offer and all of your case studies in place. Whereas with outbound, especially if you're starting, outbound might be a very good approach where you're just doing it for case studies and probably you don't have everything nailed down to the T. So you can go with that. So can you give us like a roadmap of outbound and obviously inbound through ads?
Yeah. So I think the concept, at like, for me, like, this is my personal view. I'm sure you would have talked to Faisal also about this particular topic, but in my personal view, the core, how you propagate your message, stays the same. It's about showing your expertise in a little mix with uh, helping people understand that you understand them. So their pain points and their feelings at their current stage of business, after you have identified your ideal audience, I think
Yeah.
it comes down to that, like how well do you understand your audience? And if you understand them well, then of course you can have a genuine conversation with that person, whether you're doing a DM outbound or you're having an email outbound. That would make sense to them. It wouldn't be salesy, because then it comes off very naturally that you understand this person. And same thing I think you convey in the advertising copy also, because all these are outbound itself, like even in ads, you are trying to reach out to multiple people with same ad copy. Same thing is with email, same thing is with the DM scripts that you will have.
Hmm. True.
But when it comes to organic, like posting and attracting inbound people, I think then the game completely changes, because then it's not about one ad or one email or a couple of emails. Then it's about the entire journey that you're showing, and how you're involving people,
Hmm.
engaging with them, and a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Like then it comes down to how you are naturally as a business. Just like if you go to networking, you talk to people, then you connect with them offline, and then maybe online also, and then it's just a whole circle in
Yeah.
organic inbound.
Yeah. True. So, like one thing which I know, from what discussion we have had within agency scaling systems is that, you are a very systems-driven person, right? So, what would you recommend people do? Like, once, say, for example, now they have their, organic thing going on, they have their outbound scripts going out, they have their ads being
Yeah.
run, right? And they have their Calendly link. What would you say one should do or one should ensure to make that whole, before the customer actually has a touch point with you, and even after they have had a
Yeah.
touch point with you, how do you go about that whole journey? What kind of system should you put in place to develop that kind of authority and showcase that kind of quality across?
For sure, for sure. I mean, I think this is a. I think we have had multiple calls inside the program about
Yeah.
this thing, but
Yeah.
I truly believe, like, this is one of my pet statements, that 50% of the sales happens before you're having a call with a person. By the way they perceive you. I mean, this is true about anything, like even in general life, how people perceive you before even you have started to make them like you by your conversations, by your interest, whether you're trying to go for dating a girl or trying to just be with your relatives or anyone.
Yeah.
They already judge you before the interaction. So same thing is true with sales also. So what happens is, like, every touch point that you can have with this person, just try to think about what can I do right now to make them watch me more.
Yeah.
Just that's it. Now this touch point can be them coming on your landing page. The next touch point is probably they are not booking a call with you, so you send them an email and all. We'll line it up, but then these are multiple different touch points. Even a thank you page, they have booked a call, but then your ultimate objective is just like Mark Zuckerberg, that people should not go off the screen. Similar for you, it's like people should not go, sorry,
Yeah.
not go off my content. So
Yes.
what can I show them at this point which would make sense to them? It wouldn't be like out of the box or
Yeah.
not relevant at this particular point. So show them something and keep them in, like, still consuming content with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably the entire journey, is like whatever outbound you're having or inbound you're having, from there to a landing page or to any kind of content material that you have pushed out. Wherever you are, suppose it's a landing page, so show them your content. If they are booking a call with you, keep sending them materials.
Yeah.
Before even the call has happened, keep sending them case studies and everything, so that people can be sure that, okay, I am going to be talking to a worthy person, and it's important for me. I can
Yeah.
get some value out of it.
True. I think one thing which I've always, heard, especially our clients saying, right, when they're working with us, I'm sure that's one of your strengths as well of Brandslane, that they always feel that once they get onboarded with an agency, right, it is like they feel like they're being ghosted by the team, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
I think setting that thing up and setting that up, as you mentioned, that whole perception that, guys, like once you come into the funnel and if you become a client, our communication is going to be very strong, right? And they will have multiple touch points with us. We'll be checking in with you. That is a perception being built once you're setting up these systems in place, right? I think that is super
Yeah.
crucial. And I think it's not only for agencies, I think for any business, it can work out, right? So, just to elaborate on that, like, what would you say is the importance of setting up systems and automations in place for any kind of business? I think you're working with SaaS companies also now. You're working with the D2C brands. So, can you talk a little bit about that?
Like in specifics to SaaS or any
Yeah,
business
it can
systems
be
for
in
any
SaaS
business.
also. Like you can take up an example of SaaS, like how can people who are into, like, for example, SaaS, right? Or who are into D2C as well. Like if say somebody has bought,
Yeah.
I have a supplements brand, right? And
Yeah.
as I perceive it, right, if I'm buying a supplement from you, or if I'm buying a protein powder from you, the moment I buy,
Yeah.
I should have some sort of a PDF or a reference that, okay, hey, thanks for purchasing. Like even that can work out, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Systems are like, it doesn't matter. Right now, I can very well recall that I am connected and talking to a person who is into offline businesses, and
Yeah.
I have something to do with it.
Yeah.
And I want to utilize their business, and they have been constantly in touch with me. They have been constantly sharing information. They decide my problems or my hesitations that can come,
Okay.
and they are already sending me messages to solve that. Ki, hey, just in case if you were wondering about XYZ things,
Yeah.
this is how we solve it, and this is your solution to that.
Yeah.
And then there is same service that I want. There is another business which was recommended to me by my friends.
Okay.
So I should obviously go with the recommended one because they are already trusted and proven to work with my friends. But I'm still inclined to go with the other person because that is the person who has systems to
System.
keep me in loop and keep quenching my thirst, right?
Yes.
Whatever questions I'm getting. So that if you can keep at the center of your business, like why Amazon is growing so much is because there are other places also where you can get books for cheaper, probably.
Yeah.
But Amazon is winning because they have better customer focus.
Yeah.
So just customer pampering and staying like for me, customer pampering. If you have to ask me to remove everything in my business and systems and just keep one thing, that would be communication to pamper the people,
Yeah.
because then they are like, at least they know that I'm getting heard, and that is like one thing that even from books like How to Win Friends and Influence People,
Yeah.
all of those books just tell how much people like appreciate being heard,
Yeah.
right?
True.
So just communication is the core focus that you keep telling people, and if you just set up few systems around communication, rest of the things probably I'm pretty sure that it comes around.
Yeah.
It just
True.
happens on its own.
True. So for people, who are curious and, after this call, obviously they'll be exploring agency scaling systems, but they'll also be, in general, they'll be curious of how to set up these, systems and automations. What are some tools and
Yeah.
platforms that they can use to, go about this?
All right, these days, so it's a never-ending sea. Even I feel like I'm not even touching the surface of AIs and everything that's going on right now. So I can't really say any tool for that. But there are a lot of tools which are like the OG softwares which you can use to set up things like
Yeah.
any kind of one project management system or tool like ClickUp, Asana, like that has to be there.
Yeah.
One communication tool you should be using ideally for just talking internal with your team and clients, like that has to be one of the systems that you keep separate from WhatsApp.
Yeah.
uh,
True.
and then there are a few things like, of course, you are going to do invoicing, of course you're going to set up like flows basically is communication between two tools. If
Yeah.
this happens in one tool, that should happen in another tool. So for that, Zapier has been my favorite. There are other tools. I think Pabbly is another one which is
Yeah.
like gaining a lot of attention. So
Yeah.
those tools for sure are the ones that any business would use. It doesn't matter whether you're a software business, you're a e-commerce business, or you're an agency owner. It
Yeah.
these pretty much say the same.
Yeah,
That's
I
there.
think
And then
the best thing is that from what we have learned also and what we have seen, the best thing is that most of these softwares, let's talk about like Zapier for starters, right? Anybody who's like a new
yeah,
freelancer or an agency owner and they're doing like normal outbound, they're getting 30-40 leads. Like Zapier is
yeah.
literally free for 100 tasks, right? So all those
Oh yeah,
automations, those welcome messages, those thank you pages and all of that, they can be automated, right? And Pabbly even more. So I think there have been almost 1,000 free tasks. So anybody who's watching this, they can get started. It's not that you have to be a big agency owner to, get started with systems and all of these things. Rather, it will be more important for you in the initial stages to set up these automations and come off as a very big professional, right? I think that's very important.
I guess that's very true. And if you're a smart person, like what I did was my initial Zapier plan was not just for 100 tasks or something like that.
Okay.
I just had a chat with them, and I was comparing couple of tools for this kind of flows, and I requested them to just give me an extra couple of zaps free. So they
Okay.
made it possible. I mean, they want me as a customer. A couple of extra zaps won't really be a problem. So I mean, that kind of creative thinking you have to do if you just want more out of the same thing.
True.
But yeah, that's true.
That's a
If
nice
you just start off at a higher ground, I think you are going to go even higher. So
Yeah.
don't start like here and then try to go here. Just start here and try to go even higher.
Yeah. That's a great little hack for anybody. You can just reach out to your preferred software team, and they'll probably try and make it work because they want you as a customer, right? So that's going to be a great
Yeah,
thing.
just try to make it sound very worthy that they should be doing
Yeah,
that. Like for
yeah,
example, if I'll try to reach out for any new company that I create, I can probably leverage both of my current companies and try to show it to them.
yeah.
So yeah,
True, true.
that's
And talking about, like one more thing I've always, I think anybody who knows you and who knows Faisal, they would know that, you have set up a very good, because of your processes that you've set up, the systems you have set up, all of your customers, they're very fond of your team and the way you go about things in general, right? So,
yeah.
what would you say is the importance of, or I would say that, how do you go about ensuring results for your clients, accountability, and what are some success rituals that you follow within the team, apart once all of this has been cleared off from there?
See, for there are two different probably answer for this. I mean, you know the biggest of business owners first of all are going to tell you, like I remember Grant Cardone even saying it
Yeah,
once, that I wake up, I do my work, and I still don't have a clue what am I doing.
yeah,
So I think that's true for everyone. So even I don't know what am I doing which is working out, but the only thing I do is, like, if
yeah,
I come across a problem, I just try to solve it.
yeah,
So we have had terrible hirings also.
mm,
It's not like we have never had that.
yeah,
We still have a lot of, like, times some sort of operational problems which will always keep on coming in any sort of company, no matter how efficient they are.
mm,
The only thing is, how do you solve it, and is your solution like long lasting?
yeah,
So that's the only thing that we can probably ensure.
mm,
So hiring wise, I mean, my co-founder Faisal has a sort of personal brand. People are a lot more connected to him
yeah,
than they are to me.
yeah,
So a lot has changed because of that particular thing. Also, we have got really good hires because people saw how good kind of a work we are doing, and
mm,
even if we don't have them connected already,
mm,
what we do is we take them on multiple calls and try to explain them the culture and then understand whether they are fit for that or not. So we
mm,
first make ourselves likable to them,
yeah,
whether it is by personal brands and everything.
mm,
And then once they have a good understanding of that and they understand that, okay, what we are doing and how we are doing it, then we try to judge them and understand them. So we take
yeah,
them on a call. If it is like from applications, then we take them on, let's say, fourth or fifth call and understand how are they fitting into the our culture.
mm,
Or suppose if it is with respect to, like, the organic or inbound networks,
yeah,
like some people connected to our business already, and
mm,
they have stayed in touch with us for, let's say, a year.
mm,
They already want to work with us.
yeah,
They have already established themselves to the capacity where the quality that we want,
yeah,
they are ready with that.
mm,
They have pre-qualified sort of themselves.
yeah,
So then we take them on a call. We understand whether there is a cultural fit or not, and then helping them just settle into the process. So we don't rush in. One of the creative designers. I mean, I'm thankful that these kind of people is what we are working with.
yeah,
But one of the designers that is working inside Brandslane, I think it took me 2 to 3 months to train her with all the things that are there in the online space, the kind of
yeah,
editings that we happen to have,
yeah,
and there was a willingness from her side as well. And then now we are, every time we want to create a ad, it's always like I don't have to,
yeah,
send it back for revision.
mm,
So it's just taking time to settle in.
yeah.
I like to move fast, but then only wherever it is possible.
Yeah.
So
Like one
just
major thing
settling
like I've
in.
seen, like with people, like you mentioned, how you took like 2 to 3 months to train somebody. One question which people have often is that even when you're trying to take those culture calls, right? What are the,
Yeah.
people say, what are some of the qualities that you have seen in your good hires, and what were some of the qualities you saw in the bad hires you made? Right, because technically I'm very sure that most of the people are same, right, especially if they're applying to your job, applying for a
Yes.
job within Brandslane. So what are those quality differences you saw in like good hires and bad hires? What should people be wary of?
So even like before a couple of days back, I wasn't able to, like, really verbalize it.
Yeah,
I did not have words, but now I realize that passionate people will do good work.
hmm.
And to have passionate people, you need to see something disruptive that they have done, like something out of the ordinary.
Okay.
They quit college. One of our teammates was in IIM, quit it, and tried to do passion projects, whatever they want,
Yeah.
and that's how they are like doing and working with us. Some people did not do college, directly went into whatever freelancing career they had, and
Yeah.
then ended up with us sooner or
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
So a lot of these things just show the kind of risks that they took to show their passion and live their passion. And if that is there, then I think
Yeah.
then other things are just logistical issues, and we can just figure out whether they want to actually work, their timeline works, their motivation works or not for us. But I think that is one thing that I want to like
Yeah.
see from people. And then next thing is like, these are the people that you're spending a lot of time in the day with, right?
Yes.
Probably more than your family.
Yeah.
You're working 8 hours, 10 hours a day, and then you're spending time with them only. So I want to just have people who I want to like sit. If I'm taking them on a vacation, like I can actually sit and have a great conversation with them. I love being around them.
Yeah.
That's the kind of people that I would want to have. That's the only reason why, even when we were like four people strong, like me, Faisal, and two more media buyers that we
Yeah.
had, even at that small scale as a company, we still took a vacation and went to Goa with
Yeah.
all the team members we had. But that's because we wanted them to be around us.
Yeah. True. I
So,
think
so that just
that's
like,
a very great thing. Yeah.
yeah, you have to like good people who can hang out together. So personal life wise also, they will be inclined to stay with you and stick with you. Plus you have to do great work to bring them great work so that they can stay motivated.
Yeah.
And then again, they are following their passion, and if you keep bringing them great results, they will stay passionate, motivated and passionate about the work.
Yeah.
So all three things coming together is just like a secret
Yeah,
thing.
because I think Faisal also was mentioning, like, your initial bit of calls during hiring are about, okay, what are your interests, right? What kind of books do you read? What kind of movies do you watch? Like, even
Yeah.
things like that are so important because, see, like you mentioned, you talk about like culture, right? About building a strong company culture, be it with clients, right? Like you're trying to implement that with your clients as well. And
Yeah.
if you haven't set the right kind of tone within the company that, okay, hey, we are passionate about getting results to clients, but we are not going to be after you. We are not going to be micromanaging you. We want
Yeah.
you to show your creative side, your best side. I think that is very important for people, right? To gauge like before they get into work, and even I think even more so like because you and Faisal are co-founders. That's also a very rare thing. I'm sure that you guys have realized the importance of these things of personality and interests and complementary skills very early on.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's like how our stories
Yeah.
coincide. It's very coincidental. Like for example, just the smallest of thing is, both of us stayed in our corporate job for 6 months,
Okay.
and just like that, we both of us belong to the same native place,
Yeah.
same city,
Yeah.
and some things like that like just aligned, and it was supposed to happen to come together and do business together. But
Yeah.
skills wise, also it was quite complementary,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's how it was. And I mean, passionate people is just one of the key factors for me, and I try to see their passion by the questions that you told. Faisal has also answered,
Yes.
because I want to see that if people are passionate, then they can be accountable, because then they feel the love towards the work, and when they feel the love towards the work, they are they just
Yeah.
stay accountable.
Yeah, like you mentioned, passion people, right? But I'm always like curious because I have faced this, and a lot of people face this in their like day-to-day lives. I've
Yeah.
seen this within agency scaling systems as well. That people tend to get complacent, right? They tend to get complacent when they're running a business. Like now, you mentioned that, for example, you and Faisal are co-founders. You have a great team. All of them are passionate, and you're working with very good set of clients, right?
Yeah.
There is a moment in time where it is the case with a lot of people, almost 70 to 80% of people, that they get complacent, right? Ki, okay, this revenue I've hit, this is okay. I want to be in this mode only. Why should I start another business? Why should I start agency scaling systems, right? So how do you battle that? How do you ensure that as a company, as a team, you're growing month on month?
See, like it's. I think this can be a very personal and specific answer to what motivates people to keep on working.
Yeah.
I honestly feel the best point is when you don't feel like you want to grow more,
Hmm.
because all your needs are met, and that's probably the best life that you will lead.
Yeah.
Because the feeling of constantly growing is probably, like, I term it as a
Hmm.
dysfunctional sort of a thing,
Hmm.
because you're never satisfied and you constantly want to grow towards something.
Yeah.
This is not the most healthy thing.
Yeah.
If you can see there is an end to it, then fine, keep growing till that point. But usually there is not.
Hmm.
So if a person has like figured out that, okay, I'm happy at the current level, then they are more happier
Hmm.
than probably other person who can want to like still grow, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you still want to grow, then it comes down to what motivates you. For
Hmm.
some people, it is just they know their potential,
Hmm.
because once you start running ads or you close 5 clients, let's say,
Yeah.
you can close 5 more.
Yeah.
So you want to hit that.
Hmm.
Once you close 5 more and you hire a salesperson, let's say,
Hmm.
you can close 10 more, because
Yeah.
10 that person is going to do, 10 you are going to. So the business is going to constantly give you the next steps to do.
Yeah.
Uh, that's why probably it said, like, I don't know who said it, but they said it like, if you are sticking around in business, you are constantly growing.
Hmm.
And if you're not constantly growing, then you will die eventually.
Hmm. Yeah. True.
It's because probably business is going to constantly force you to like keep on moving forward and forward. So for me personally, at this point of time, it's just about
Hmm.
keep on doing the work.
Hmm.
I like doing this work so much that even if I automate every single thing
Yeah.
in my company where I don't, my presence is not needed, I'll still come back and sit on it and work,
Hmm.
because I just love working in this
Yeah.
field and in this industry. So,
True.
if you can love that, then I think there's nothing wrong. You can keep coming back to it every single morning and keep showing up and keep working. I think that's one of the things that helps us,
Yeah.
focus on growth.
Hmm.
And I think yeah, if you have systems, then your systems can keep on running continuously, and all you need to do is just add more fuel and it will go faster. So that's something that people can figure out how to scale their business in.
True, true. Yeah, I think I think that's so. I think the answer to this question for a lot of people, like from what you have mentioned right now, is that first of all you should love what you're doing, right? Like if you're only in it only for the money, then it's not going to play out for you in the long run. You will get complacent. But if you love the game, if you love what you're doing, I think that's the only reason for you to ensure your growth as well into the whole space, right? So I think that's very
Yeah.
important for people to know. Definitely.
It's very funny. Like, let's should we take this answer a little more philosophical, maybe?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, because I have realized I met a lot of people recently. I've started going and I've like started moving out of my personal space. So I have realized there are a lot of people who actually don't love what they do,
Hmm.
and still they're doing it to the best of their capacity, better than anyone else who is loving their business, because just their motivation and why is so high.
Hmm. True.
Because they want something,
Hmm.
and this particular business and XYZ thing they are doing is such a
Yeah.
powerful impact on that particular thing that they want to achieve,
Yeah.
that it's just making it happen. So
Yeah.
they don't want to love it.
Yeah.
They just want to have that final outcome which is going to give them happiness,
Hmm.
and whatever means they take to achieve that, whatever road, like whichever format of business,
Yeah.
they're fine with it.
Yeah. I
So
think
that's
what
one
you
thing
say,
that
it makes a lot of sense. Like I think I can take an example of, like, are you into tennis? By the way, like, have you seen tennis a little bit? Like, do you watch?
I've seen, but not like that much
Okay.
into it.
So there's this tennis player. For anybody who might be interested in tennis, this would be interesting for them. And it is just like what I've observed. There's this tennis player called Nick Kyrgios. Funnily, his name is also like Nick, Nick Kyrgios. So this guy, Nick Kyrgios, he started beating all of these players when he came into the space. He got started into, like, I think his parents were also into sports. I think into tennis only or something. And he got into tennis, and he was so talented. He used to beat everybody like Nadal, Federer, all of the big names, right? But he was never consistent with it, right? He will never win a Grand
Okay.
Slam. He'll never be number one. That is not his cup of tea. But he will come in, he will win his Grand Slams. He'll take the money and he'll just go and party and, take drugs or something like that. I think, that's the case with a lot of people. I think discussed it with my brother a lot of times, and, even with some of my close friends, that sometimes you have to do the boring work, right? Like
Yeah.
probably okay,
Yeah.
you love the agency space, you might not love taking sales calls, right? You might love the other part
Yeah.
of it. So I think doing the boring work is also extremely important. And what do you want to get out of this? Is it that you want to get a good network? Is it you want to get good friends? Like Faisal got,
Yeah.
Faisal got married because of LinkedIn. So you never know what is your
Yeah.
purpose, right? But you should have a purpose behind everything that you do. And the vehicle then I think doesn't matter, right? I hope that that is
Yeah.
what you were also trying to say.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I totally agree with that, and I think uh, till the time you're happy with the end outcome, anything works. Anything that takes you there, it's fine. And I think I haven't been in business honestly that long. It has been just a few years, and there is a long way to go. But so far, one of the belief I have is like you can probably love your first business, you can probably fall in love with your second business, but then after a while, it just becomes a business. To be honest.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because at the end of the day, if your business is design, at the end of the day, you're not doing design. You're just managing people.
yeah,
If my job is towards e-commerce people, at this point of time and in future, like it would just be managing people, hiring and doing the sales call, not actually working with e-commerce people.
yeah.
So if you keep want to like if you want to stay in love with the passion that you have, then probably like the freelance is the best way. But then
Yeah.
otherwise, it just only becomes about systems, sales, and people management.
Yeah, true, true. No, I think a lot of people like even so a lot of people, anybody who's into the agency space, they would be following Iman Gadzi and all of these guys, right? Even they got started with probably say agencies, right?
Yeah.
He got started with an agency, he built that up, ramped that up to quite a level. Then now he has pivoted, right? He went now. I think I have seen with him. I'm sure you would have also felt the same. That at least from what I have seen, he was into the agency space to make money and get out of the life he was living. He tried to then he flipped that money through crypto or whatever, right? And then now he's into a completely different space, right? So I think
Yeah.
beyond a point, there will come a time where you take business as business, and then you have other things that motivate you, right? There are other things that you look up to in your life, right? So on that note, I think
Yeah.
I want to talk about what are the other passions and interests you have particularly, and what do you love doing during your days.
What do I love? Like if business and right now current obsession is just creating new systems and new businesses. But that apart from that, in my life, like I love the staying keeping alive my creative spark. So
Yeah.
so anything that revolves around that. I used to be into writing a lot earlier.
Okay.
So just writing songs, writing poems, writing anything that just lets out the feelings, like that is something I used to do. Been into football, but haven't really in the last many years. I haven't really
Yeah.
got time to go back to it. Did it for a while till certain levels, but just came back from it. So that's there. But otherwise, right now my current obsession is uh, interior architecture and designing.
Okay.
So I'm,
Nice.
for some odd weird reason, I'm just very attracted to that right now.
Okay.
Learning more about wines. I don't smoke, and I haven't smoking a cigar in like ever. But
Yeah.
I like to read about it, like to know about it, so that if there is a conversation going around that, because that's the trend of the current culture, right?
Yeah.
So I'm reading about that a lot. I read a lot. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty much it. And then I'm trying to develop a habit of reading novels. So
Okay. So
haven't
fiction.
finished one.
Hmm.
Yeah, fiction side, because business side I've read a lot. So
Yeah.
I'm seeing that whether can I like the fictional side as well.
So what book are you reading right now, like to get into fiction?
This There's this book by Khalid Hosseini.
Okay.
Yeah, so
The
that
Kite
one I'm
Runner or
reading,
some other book?
and the Mountains Echoed,
Okay. Okay. Understood.
and the
Understood.
Mountains Echoed.
I think
Yeah,
so. Like how you mentioned about writing and like poetry, and now that you're into fiction. Um,
yeah,
I so my father, right? He was always into fiction. He never read any non-fiction books, so he introduced us to a lot of fictional books, right? So all the great authors. Like I'll give you an example. Like when we were younger, we used to read Enid Blyton books. So Enid Blyton were those fairy
right.
tales and all of that. Then there were these
Yeah,
comics,
yeah,
Asterix, Obelix, Tintin. Then we read one of my favorite authors is John Steinbeck, right? So he's the person, he's the founder. Sorry, not founder. Like I'm into business now, right? Founder only. He's the author
Yeah.
of books like Of Mice and Men, and all of these books are there. So I think like one suggestion for anybody who gets into fiction, like now you want to get into fiction, right? Is that
Yeah.
there's certainly going to be this level of um, like you need to read to get into fiction. You need to read the right kind of books, is what I feel, especially if you're getting into fiction like later in your life.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
book which I would recommend for anybody who wants to get into fiction and it's like very interesting is like Murakami. So have you read any Haruki Murakami books?
No, no, no.
No, no.
I haven't finished one fictional book right now.
Okay. Nice. So I think
Yeah.
Haruki Murakami is something that you should really read. Why? Because it is like such an eccentric book, right? So it is based, all of his books are based typically about, around Japan and Tokyo. And,
Okay.
all of these books, they have a very eccentric, very ghostly feel about them. And like it's very unique the way he writes. Same way with John Steinbeck. Like if you're obsessed and if you love adventure, right? If you have a adventurous spirit within you. So all of John Steinbeck's books, they were about America when they were coming out. When they were coming out of that phase of between the early 1900s to 1950s. So he was usually talking about the Great Depression when they were apple pickers and all of that. Very adventurous books, and like you get an insight into America overall, right? So that's
Okay.
like I would recommend that you can, if you want to like really get into, like you want to read a really fun book, really adventurous book, either go with Murakami or with John Steinbeck, because you just love
No,
them.
for sure. I'll take definitely recommendations of this podcast. I'll definitely take some recommendations because it stems from like right now reading books. How it started was I've traveled in the last 1 year quite a lot, like
Okay.
quite a lot as in compared to how much I used to travel before. So this year, I'm wanting to even go beyond how much time I have spent traveling last year. So in all those times, you just want to take a relax from business books and all these things. So
Yes.
sometimes here and there, I have tried to dabble between a couple of books, but I have not stuck to one.
Yeah.
So this time, I'm like trying to just finish through things and then figure
Yeah.
out do I like it, or should I stick to like the non-fiction ones?
Yeah, I think with that is the beauty about like fiction books. If the book is really interesting, you will be addicted to
Yeah.
it, right? It's like an addiction. Like you'll not
Oh
want to
yeah.
put it down. And
Yeah.
but if it is like, if you find even a little bit boring, you'll not read it, right? So it's like that's the thing about fiction, because with non-fiction, it is value based. Every page I read, there's some sort of value. But here it is more about
Yeah.
thoughts, right? Your imagination.
Oh,
If
yeah.
that book doesn't trigger
How
your
much? Yeah,
imagination,
yeah.
you're not going to read it.
I think creative people have more inclination or more chances of liking
Fiction.
the fictional books. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like you
Yeah.
mentioned that you were also into writing, right? And I remember like 2.5, 3 years back when I was writing very aggressively. उस time पे I was reading a lot of poetry. I was reading a lot of fictional books. Obviously, I was listening to a lot of music, especially these qawwalis and all, because they're so beautifully written in Urdu and all. So I
Yeah.
was writing all of this poetry, and then obviously I started business and I wanted to get into business. And I don't know, there was like this mental switch which happened where I didn't want to read any fictional book any longer. Right? I think that also happened. So what would you say, like, why do you think that the reason of not getting into fiction or not being able to write right now is because you've gotten completely into business and that has turned away your creative thinking, or like how do you think about this whole thing?
I love that question because
Yeah,
not a lot of people will probably even notice this kind of a change and
yeah,
uh, certain things,
yeah,
let alone finding a reason to it. But I did realize that when I was like in a super high zone of hustling in the
yeah,
initial times when neither we had money nor we had like a time luxury nor we had any business kicking in actually to give us
yeah,
that confidence. So it was pure hustle and struggle.
yeah,
At that time, I don't even remember for how long I have not consumed even a single entertainment content.
yeah,
Like you can count anything, like you count
yeah,
movies, you count music, you count anything at all. I did not listen to it at all.
yeah, yeah,
And I probably think that's more or so. I mean, I try to mix science with some real practical thing also, which we can comprehend probably. So
yeah,
on the science end, the dopamine and all these things that we get from reading books or
Yeah.
writing something of passion or listening to songs, movies, they just like probably reduce our hustle level. I
Yeah.
personally believe that.
Yeah. Uh, but
So
you're still a very creative person, right? Like you, I would say that now the interesting thing is that although yes, we don't get time to probably paint or sketch or write, but that creativity,
yeah,
if you were a creative person, that will resonate into your business.
100%. If you are by choice a passionate person towards creativity, any sort of that, I think it would manifest itself in some other forms for sure. I mean, you can't leave it or let it go, right? If you are a perfectionist, then it doesn't matter whether you're keeping things organized or you're creating a system for business. In both these things, you will be organized and you will have a systematic level of thinking, right?
Hmm.
So it does manifest, I think. So I think in my way, terms, my creativity manifested in terms of
Hmm.
really expressing what I know about my ideal client
Hmm.
and making them feel also the same thing. So in writing, it manifested in copywriting format.
Hmm.
Then landing pages and all those things, of course,
Yeah.
that's much less right now. But when we had it for the drop shipping time
Hmm.
and e-commerce time, then there was more manifestation of that in the websites and all those things. But that's just a channel of letting it
All.
come out. But it's still not the same that you
Yeah.
do when you're actually painting or actually sketching or actually doing something about it.
Yeah, but I'm sure as
Yeah.
you again optimize more once you have more again because now I think like we discussed earlier in the podcast, you either have time investment or you have a money investment. As and when you keep
Yeah.
growing your business slowly and steadily, you have a big leverage, which is I would say money. So I think the amount of time you would spend ideally in like speaking to customers or acquiring customers and things like that, that will you'll get more free time. And I think that is the time, like you mentioned, you want to travel and all also during those
Yeah. Yeah.
boring those boring flights waiting on the airport. I think that is the time where you can actually really juice out the time to get into like reading or sketching or any of that, any of those things, right?
You can probably assume you'll have that luxury to do that, but
Yeah.
when business, you know it, when something starts kicking in, your
Hmm.
brain directly goes to the next step. So even when I'm waiting in the lounge, or I'm just waiting for the cabs to come, I'm just constantly like checking Slack or just responding
Yeah.
to something or the other, thinking
Yeah.
about how I would do this thing,
Hmm.
that thing. So it's not really that much time you get, but honestly, if you want to find time, of course you can find time, and later on you can just like try to do all these things. I think your question initially, which it was, it reminds me of something called as dopamine detox. Like, have you come across that in the recent
Yeah, yeah.
times?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
like one thing which, on Saturdays and Sundays, like what we do especially is that my brother and I, we try
yeah,
like after 2 p.m., right? After 2 or
yeah.
3 p.m., we try and just cut off from like screens, right? Like we'll go to the club, there's
Hmm.
a club close by, so we'll go and play pool, for example. We'll just spend time
Hmm.
talking or stuff like that. Because I think, like although I completely relate with you that you are complete like if the business, if it is not business, then you'll go and check out your your demat account. Okay, what are my investments doing, right? You'll check out
Yeah,
your
yeah,
other messages, you'll probably ping your friends. But I think
yeah,
I am trying very consciously because I've realized, I don't know, it's called, I'm forgetting that principle's name, right? That how much ever time you give something, that is the amount of time you will take to complete that task, right? So I feel
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
if you want to like if you want to say read, or if you want to get back into say sketching or writing, you will have to very consciously, although it is very very hard and it is very difficult, you will have to consciously take out time and block off time कि यार मैं तो करूंगा नहीं, I'll not do it only, I'll not do it in this time, even if my
yeah.
business is coming crashing down. Because and then you'll realize that after a few hours, when you do check back on your emails or your phone, nothing has changed actually. I think it's a very
Yeah.
addictive thing to get into that.
Yeah, yeah. I think just taking out conscious efforts for things that you actually want to invest time with,
Yeah.
whether it is like spending time with your people
Hmm.
and taking it out of like business time,
Yeah.
or just spending time to do something of your own. 100%. We have to be very conscious of spending this time with things. I
Yeah.
prefer like people call it time management. I prefer calling same thing as energy management, and
Hmm.
it's not a term
Yes.
of my own. Like I think I have learned it from maybe Dan Martel, if you know this guy,
Yes,
he's
he's like
into
the
software
SaaS
space, but
company
he's
guy. Yeah,
yeah. I think it was his only words. I'm not really
yeah.
sure, but
Hmm.
it's about energy management, where rather than managing your time, if you do things with the right energy at the right time, then you have time to do everything. Like for example, if
Hmm.
you are doing the hardest tasks first, because at the beginning of the
Yeah.
day you have the great, most amount of energy,
Hmm.
then by the end of the time you would not want to work with business, because you are drained out of energy. But then that time you can probably spend with your family,
Hmm.
because that's not an energy draining thing. That's a
Yeah.
energy replenishing sort of a
Yes.
time that you're spending with your family. So
Yes.
that sort of a thing just sort of helps. So I still, like, at this point of time,
Hmm.
I do social media screen time detox. I used to be very notorious for not switching on phone till
Okay.
12 noon, and
Huh.
I used to get up at 6 a.m.
Hmm.
So for 6 hours of the day, I used to be without phone, just on
Yeah.
laptop working.
Yeah.
But now it has got a little lenient.
Hmm.
I'm just trying to look at into things like how can I manage my energy better, and then
Yeah.
that manages my time better.
You talk about energy management. I think I want to elaborate a little bit more on that. Like, you're into like fitness and meditation and biohacking as well, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Do
yeah,
you think that so I started doing meditation more diligently? I would say it's around 3 months, right, so far. So like we have
okay,
made it a point to go to the gym in the morning. Like the first thing, like my routine, I just want to talk about my routine once, because then I would
yeah,
love your views on it. Like we typically get, like we are also, like since I come from an army background, right? We never had this culture of
yeah,
sleeping late and all. Like we are in our beds and we are asleep by 10:30 max typically, right? And I get up at around 5:30. We wake up
yeah,
again just as a conscious choice. I try and read a book the first 30 minutes. So when by the time we get freshened up and by the time we actually leave for the gym, my brother and I read a book or something like 30 minutes. Currently, I'm reading 48 Laws of Power, great book. Uh, then we go to the gym. We spend an hour or so in the gym, right? And then we try and do a cold plunge because now it's winters. So we just go and jump in the pool for some time, and we do around at least at the minimum 15 minutes of meditation, right? And now I personally feel that is the only way to store your energy, right? That is like your energy bank, right? Which you
yeah,
get, like
yeah,
it's like charging yourself up in the morning, right? When you do these activities, going to the gym, reading, meditation even more so, because it puts you in a state of slow thinking, right? Like when you're on your phone, this is just my opinion, when you're on your phone, there are so many images and so many visuals that you're into this process of fast thinking. And when you do meditation or when you even do reading, you get into the process of slow thinking, right? Because you have to be very slow in terms of, okay, you're not thinking about anything. When you're reading a book, it is one word at a time. So what do you think about that? What
yeah.
has been your experience? What practices are you doing for your energy management or energy replenishing during the day?
Yeah, I mean, very, very aligned with you on the slow thinking part. Like, it just makes you become present more.
Hmm.
Um, and once you are focused, I think you are more efficient with your brain activity or sort of things. That is why when you're focused, when you're present,
Hmm.
you tend to think better,
Hmm.
right? Better ideas come, better creativity comes. So for me, like, yes, I don't do that sort of heavy meditation where you're just trying to focus on your kundlis and all. Not that. I'm just trying to do very simple meditation, and I have been doing, like, people who are closest to me, I've
Yeah.
kept my all sorts of life very private. But then people who are very close to me,
Hmm.
Faisal, who is my co-founder
Yeah.
at both the companies, he has probably seen me meditate every single morning for the last
Wow.
4.5 years at
Oh,
least,
wow.
and I was doing it even before that.
Hmm.
So
That's
just sometimes, if you don't want to sit for long, just 10 minutes is enough. Sometimes when you can sit, or most of the days when you can sit, just do it at least for 20 minutes, because anything less than that is like less attention span,
yeah.
less time to just train your mind to just cancel out things and just be focused, be present. Don't, like, let your brain go to multiple distractions.
Hmm.
At least 20 minutes is enough.
Yeah.
The You guys do it for 50, like, that's like Great. That's
15,
very
15, not 50.
admirable.
We have not reached that stage of doing it for
Okay,
50.
okay, all right, 15.
15, 15.
Yeah, so 15, 20 is fine. And it keeps on growing. It keeps on growing. And the days I have not done it, I can very well see it in me that, okay, one day I don't do it, it doesn't change anything. But if I start not doing it for like a week or something, it just doesn't do well for me in terms of like how my responses towards whatever things are coming in business and personal life, and what my reaction to, like how severely I react to them.
Yeah.
I'm not in the calm state where I can take that in and then think about the solution and then go about things. So in terms of that, probably meditation does help. Even if you don't want to do like the proper meditation, just try to sit idle with yourself,
Yeah.
without phone, without anything.
Yeah.
So that just helps you
And
talk
what
to
about
yourself.
like fitness? And I know that you're also getting into like biohacking and stuff. What would you say? How much weightage would you give that, right? For especially for people into business, because they're doing so many long hours, sitting in one place,
Yeah,
so many like meetings and messages and this and that. So how much,
yeah.
like how do you go about your fitness and even biohacking and stuff nowadays?
To be honest, like I'm still like, other than just showing up and doing that, enduring that pain, um, and having that mindset that, okay, if I punish my body today with pain, tomorrow I'm going to reap the benefits of better health, better physique and all. Other than that, I'm still to realize like what is the real effect of or connection between the fitness and the health, or the business part. Uh, my usual business is online also, so I don't get to like have that experience where a lot of like these days influencers on business influencers on Instagram, you'll come across and they are probably talking about, if you are having a good physique, then your in-person sales calls and all these meetings are just like next level.
Yeah.
So I don't have that luxury of experiencing that, so I'm still to experience. But fitness has been an equal long part. Only for the time when I was hustling and trying to make it through in my business, I was not in to physical activity, anything of that sort. But in schools, I was an athlete. After that, also I was into fitness. I was trying to just stay active by running and all. After a while, since the last I think 3 something years, I have been doing it, fitness properly.
Yeah.
But then only in the last 6 7 months I've tried to do it properly, like by taking up a health coach and all,
Yeah.
who is helping me with biohacking also, who is helping me with sleep patterns also, who is helping up with personal training on gym also.
Okay.
But
Interesting.
that's what it's going like, and I really think that it just creates a routine. It just pushes you to like something that makes you show up for
Yeah.
the love of it.
Yeah.
So I've seen like that has created a different thing earlier in my business when I used to have difficult days. Like suppose at the moment I in the last 2 days I've been going through fever, a little bit of fever
Okay.
because of the weather change. I have showed up in business and I've showed up in gym also, even if I just do cardio and come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think
that
that's very important. Yeah.
yeah, it just creates a habit of showing up. And if there is something called cognitive bias, if you develop your habit of doing some things a certain way, then the next thing that you introduce also gets done the same way. So if you are showing up constantly at 10 different places, then you will be having a habit of showing up maybe at the 11th place also.
I think I love that point, especially that last statement. This is the mindset I think I'm trying to develop. Obviously, we are not there. I would say I'm not there. I'm sure there's a far way for all of us to go to, right? I think you're also you and Faisal and everybody in Brandslane. Everybody is so young. Even in agency scaling systems, everybody is so young. Like they're all between
Yeah.
like 18 to 20 to 23 mostly, right?
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
I personally feel like talking about the point that you mentioned. Okay, what is probably the connection between fitness and business? I think one big thing is that like how you and I are talking, right?
Yeah.
Today on this podcast, we have been speaking like it's almost been an hour now. People don't have the stamina to even sit on a chair nowadays.
Oh
Right?
yeah.
That's like
100%.
I would
Yep.
say the biggest thing. Like the biggest thing of fitness is that it gives you the physical stamina to even sit in a like a call, right? I'm sure anybody who's into like I know for a fact like a lot of people into agencies, scaling systems, like everybody's young, and I've seen
Yeah.
that most of the people have sort of been connected, even to the people I've spoken to. Mostly they have been into like sports or these creative thinking activities, and it has helped them develop that stamina, right, of sitting down and
Yeah.
working. One more thing which I've noticed is like when I was in 11th and 12th, I was studying for JEE, right? Probably I had. Did you study for JEE, by the way?
I think 90% of the people we'll talk to, they did for it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say
Yeah.
that studying for that JEE exam, sitting and studying for 10 to 12 hours a day, even that thing is adding up now. I give a lot of regard. Okay, I might have not gotten into an IIT, right? But that those habits that we developed during that time of just sitting,
Yeah.
focusing, trying to we are exhausting our brain about these such technical topics, right, and such deep topics. All of that adds up,
Yeah.
right? Same way, talking about that cognitive bias thing which you mentioned, that how you do one thing is how you do everything. Showing up to the gym, like I like before we started this podcast, I was talking about like cold plunge, right? And today was
Yeah.
one of the colder days in the place I am. It is like around 12 to 13 degrees, although I'm sure you'll not resonate because you are in a much colder place than me. But I told my brother, I was like, don't think of it as like a pool, right? Think of it as think of it like a potion, right? If you dip in it, it's like giving you the all the strengths and all the powers of succeeding in anything that you do, right? Because
Yeah. Yeah.
nobody wants to get into a like 12 to 13 degrees of water in the morning, right? But if you take a
Yes.
cold shower, if you take a cold plunge, that will add up, right? So that's one
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, no, deliberately, like what you said last is very powerful.
Yeah.
I think this is one thing that everyone who's doing a little bit of difficult task
Yeah.
is some sort of delusional,
Hmm.
whether they are delusional by default or they talk themselves into being delusional about something,
Hmm.
and then they just
True.
go ahead and do it because then they don't feel like, okay, this is a big deal. And
Yes.
that is how like the biggest of things gets done. So I think, yeah,
True.
yeah, I totally agree with that. Yep.
Great. I think this was like a really great segment, about creativity and fitness and all. Like, just coming in towards the last part of, the podcast before we get into the rapid fire. I think the last 5 to 6 years for you has been very transformative, right? Because you have,
Yeah.
completed your college, you have left a job, started businesses, two successful businesses now, a lot of different passion projects and different things being tried out in between, like be it through your dropshipping or whatever, right? What would you say? How has all of this changed you as a person, right? What all things have changed? What all skills do you think you've developed? Because the reason why I ask this question to everybody, because sometimes people, they undermine the kind of things that happen to them when they do such a tough thing as starting a business, right? So that's why I'm asking you this question:
Mhm.
what changes and what things you have seen develop in you over these
I
past
think
five
it.
to six years?
I think this could be the answer, which could be similar for everyone, because the situations and everything is pretty similar for all these business owners that we'll talk to. Uh, I think it was Ty Lopez who I recall saying that after a while, after let's say 22, 23 years of age,
Hmm.
the only time we grow is by facing hardships or trauma.
Hmm.
That's when we learn and we grow.
Yeah.
Um, and that's probably the, if we just exclude the trauma part, then hardships is basically business giving you a lot of problems. So I think that is one thing, and once
Yeah.
you overcome all the problems, the best thing that I've like got from business by doing business for all these years and being at a moderate scale where we are at,
Yeah.
the one thing is confidence, because once you start getting that habit and that taste of encountering problems and overcoming them, uh, you start to shine in a different way, and that just is pure confidence. So I think confidence is my thing. A little bit of arrogance of that, you can set your mind to something and you can achieve that. I love that sort of arrogance, and
Yeah.
people telling you and then you laughing in your mind that okay, they think you can't do it and then you can actually do it because you have a roadmap ready in your head already.
True. True.
uh, that sort of arrogance is a great thing for the confidence building. So that is one great thing, sort of like fearlessness. about
Yeah.
approaching a situation and being confident that, okay, if I go to a new city, new situation, I can still manage it. If I start a new business tomorrow, I can still manage it.
Yeah.
It's just very powerful. So that is something that I love the most.
That's good.
Other than that, I think it's just you become very extrovert, outwardly person, even if like innately you still say the same, you still stay introvert, and you still like spending a lot of time alone.
Yeah.
But responsibility is one big factor. So confidence and responsibility is two biggest of my things which has grown me, because
Okay.
responsibility makes you take things in a different way. Sometimes you need to be lovable and humble, and I don't know, all the good stuff.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you need to be harsh and stern and very savage with your business, because then you have a lot of responsibility of not just yourself, maybe your clients, employees of the clients,
Yeah.
especially in my field where I'm driving revenue for these people. So unke employees jo honge, they are also like depending on us to do good
Yes.
work. And if and then other members of the company, Brandslane itself or the other companies. So it just makes you be savage at the same time, be good also. So it's just a mix of all these emotions, and how you balance it, and probably meditation on all these things just like ground you
Yeah.
to not become a split personality,
Yeah.
just being both of them at the same time, but yeah, trying to balance it in between.
That's great.
And yeah, so it just makes a sense of responsibility, and then gives you the confidence to like achieve whatever you want to achieve. Those two things are the biggest, personal wise, like that's for me. I was very bad at sales,
Okay.
like absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
So that has been a good skill that I've learned after this. Yes.
Yes, yes. I mean, since we have been like, we are almost like 10, 15 podcasts in, I think this has been the common theme. But these
Yeah.
qualities, these traits are so important to succeed in anything in life. Like tomorrow, if you were to, somebody offered you a job as
Yes.
well, right? Like they said, that, okay, Nick, like, if you want, like, I'll make you the CEO of Google. You will have the confidence to go and do that, right? You'll have the confidence to go
Yeah.
and do that. So I think that inherent, I think confidence is the main key. And obviously these other things,
Yeah.
like obviously it resonates into sales, it resonates into developing businesses and all of that as well, right? So that's great.
Yeah.
And again, like I would say, what is the final piece of advice you would want to give to people who want to get started into like freelancing and agency business?
Freelancing or
Freelancing or in the agency space, like what is like one final piece of advice you would like to give them?
okay, so the final piece would be like I would like, because there is a lot of competition these days, right? And I see the only way you can differentiate yourself is if you start from the get go by doing something which is beyond other people, what they are doing, like the level at which they are doing. So
Yeah.
if you're making a proposal, just make it little better. If you're talking to the people, just talk a little better, like have better communication. So start off from a level which is better than all the other people. That's when you will face less competition, and half of the problems that you will probably come across will not even come across if you're doing it this way. So probably it's that thing. And then if you're still not clear on what you should be freelancing about, what should be the agenda of your agency and niche of your agency, then just trying honestly, even if it takes a while, honestly it's going to give you the solution. So just trying a lot of stuff and then making it work, it's that's one thing. Yeah.
True, true. I think you have hit it like bang on. I think people should start putting in more effort, trying to be more professional in everything
Yeah.
they do because of the competition and the market sophistication, especially in the
Yeah.
freelancing agency space. True, true. So yeah, I think that sums up, our chit chat. I think it's time for the rapid fire round. So are you ready, Nick?
I'm pretty bad with the rapid fire and all these games, but it just makes me like, I'm an overthinker, so it just makes me start thinking a lot. So, anyways, I'll try
Okay,
it. Shoot it.
that's good. That's good. So the first question is, which is the one book you would recommend everybody read?
I have two.
Okay.
One is Clockwork, Actually, I have three, so I'll probably recommend all of them. One is Clockwork, which is basically helping you figure out how to set up systems in your company. Another is the Culture Code, which is good book. I have sent it to a lot of my employees who have joined, and then I keep sending it to them, the new ones who joins in. So the Culture Code is about how the biggest of companies have built a culture which thrives without the supervisor also, and people are like contributing to growing the company. So how that culture forms basically. That's the Culture Code. And the last one is basically this is the leadership level book where you now want to free up your time. So again, one of the guys we talked about was Dan Martel. I'm like absolutely following him right now since the last 2 years, but now these days it's like too much. So Dan Martel's book has come out, which is How to Buy Back Time.
Okay.
So that book is about how you should like start behaving like a leader, where you put in places systems and people who are going to take care of the work on your behalf, and a different concept of growing business altogether, rather than looking at okay, how can I grow, just looking at okay, where can I replace myself. So that book has a great completely different perspective.
Interesting. Sure.
Yep.
What about, which is your favorite movie, and what is like one movie you would recommend people watch?
Favorite movie? There are a lot of them. I mean, a few things here and there from a lot of them. Maybe I love Moneyball. I love Social Network because that's like very well inspiring from back in the days.
Yeah.
Pursuit of Happiness. Everyone loves that.
Okay.
Yeah, these are the ones that like the mind-bending movies I like more. And then there are ones that of course I watch on Christmas and all those things. So,
Okay. Yeah.
but those ones I really like. Yeah.
That's nice. You mentioned that you have been traveling and you want to travel more. So what is one place on your
Yeah.
bucket list for travel?
One place on my bucket list. So there's this very amazing place I have been like it's at the top of my list.
Okay.
Earlier it was Barcelona.
Okay.
But now these days it's Amalfi Coast. It's in Italy.
Okay.
There's a complete coastline, and it has like islands and different segments of the island, segments of the coastal region. That's very pretty. But other than that, like I really want to explore a lot of like cultural places also, like Istanbul, like Middle East, and all those places also.
True. That's great. And what is like, if you had a superpower, right? Any superpower,
Yeah.
what would that superpower look like for you?
What would that superpower? I would probably print money, man.
Okay. The superpower of printing money.
No, honestly, no. It's maybe not. Honestly, like that's the if you will talk in terms of like how business or life.
Yeah, anything, any kind of superpower. Like a lot of people have said, I want to, influence people's minds. That has been a very popular one. I don't know why. Everybody wants to, influence people's minds and, sort of hypnotize them. But you have another, like, let's say you have two superpowers. One is printing money. What about the other one?
No. Of course, printing money was a joke. I mean, that solves the purpose if you're sorted here.
Yeah, true.
But of course, influencing people's thought would be one thing. That is a very lucrative one now that you say about it.
Yeah.
The other would be just being omnipresent. I mean, freedom of money we can achieve, freedom of time we can have. Just being omnipresent. And if I want to just teleport somewhere, I would want to do that for sure.
Yeah. Perfect.
I mean, travel enriches you a lot, and everyone wants to travel. Probably, I would hardly think that anyone doesn't want to do that.
Yeah, I think the main goal of people even getting into like making money, like the primary goal is certainly like traveling. I think traveling is like as humans, we are always looking for adventure, and travel gets you that adventure, right? So that's one thing.
Yes. Imagine like just the change of environment. Like suppose I'm sitting here and I get tired of taking sales call here, and I just like teleport to Amalfi Coast and start taking call from there. Like what kind of impact it would do to my business? Imagine that way.
True. That's so true. And you also mentioned that you try and come up with new hobbies as very frequently. So what is one hobby that you really want to pick up in the future? Or one skill?
I want to complete the wine understanding and winery.
Okay.
Like how does the process of forming it and then tasting it to the perfect thing. So having a palate for wine tasting and all, I think that I would definitely pick up.
So have you
And
tried
cars,
like
of
all
course, like
kinds?
I have. It's like all these local wines, which we usually get in the things, but not really
Okay.
at the level that I would want to do. So I would want to pick that hobby up. I was going about it, and then I had to drop it.
Hmm.
Just left it midway.
Okay. Understood. Understood. Any other
Yeah.
hobby that you are really looking forward to getting into?
I am like wanting to go back to music, man. Honestly, like
Music.
music has been forever passion. I used to learn from YouTube keyboard playing, and I
Okay.
got decently good at it. But then still, since I did not learn the notes and everything, so it just sort of lost away. So I do
Yeah.
have a lot of recordings, me playing songs, and it used to sound very nice, at least to me and to people. The close ones
Yeah.
I made it here, but I do want to pick it up professionally and like want to learn it. So
Perfect.
hopefully in this year itself, I would go back to both of these things again.
Certainly. Certainly. And finally, what is
Yeah.
like the best piece of life advice you have ever gotten, be it through some person, through a quote, through a book, through a movie,
Best piece of life advice.
or advice in general, like something which has like really stuck with you and really made an impact?
Yeah. So one thing that I have someone has told me, and it's not a really big advice,
Yeah.
but I don't know, because of the situation I was in and I was experiencing all these things. It just hit a different note, and now I know if I'm like someone told me that whatever time you think it will take longer than that.
Hmm.
And this is for everything, like whether you want to give some comfort to someone, you want to attract a person, you want to reach something and do something, like it's just going to take a little longer. So just
Yeah.
being okay with knowing that it's going to take longer, it just gives you less anxiety.
Yeah.
So that is one thing which at that time hit a different note.
Yeah.
uh, and one more thing was, someone very close to me told me that emotions are the most useless things. I mean, in
Yeah.
love and all these things, it's fine, but then
Hmm.
it will stop you from doing few things which
Hmm.
are necessary
Hmm. Hmm.
in personal
Agree.
life also, and in professional life also. Sometimes emotions will hold you back from doing the right thing which is
Hmm.
necessary, and
Yeah.
you have to just ignore your emotions and do the thing the right way.
Hmm. Like being stoic in general, right? Like be it stoic with the time,
Yeah.
being stoic with emotions. I think that's the
Yeah.
right way to go about things. Perfect.
Yeah.
So
Like
I
for
think
example, you can get comfortable with some people around you, and you start not taking them seriously and doing efforts for them. But
yeah,
then you have to cut back on that emotion and assume that, okay, this is not true. They are not with me. I still have to attract them. I still have
yes,
to pamper my family.
yes,
So just detaching from your emotions at the current stage and taking it for the real thing that it is. I
yeah,
think that helps me contextual. If you can contextualize this particular thing for personal and professional life, then it has been a really big piece of advice to like
hmm,
look at things from beyond the current situation and then
yeah,
put efforts for that.
yeah. True. I think this has been one of the most fun sessions I've had, Nick. I hope you enjoyed as well. And I think for the people watching
Lovely,
this,
man.
yeah, I think for the people watching this, they would have gotten. We have gone beyond business. Typically, we don't do that, but I think they would have really enjoyed everything that we have discussed about. And thank you so much for joining in, man.
Thanks. Appreciate you for calling me, and it was definitely amazing session. And we hardly get to discuss anything beyond business,
Business,
but
yeah.
how that ties up to a personal life, I think fun session to talk
Yeah.
about that. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for the people who are curious about Brandslane and agency scaling systems, do go ahead and join it. You'll get more fun sessions. We do this, by the way, weekly on within agency scaling systems, bi-weekly rather. So if you want to have more chats with
Yeah.
Faisal and Nick and Anas, everybody, I definitely suggest that it's not only going to be good for your business growth, but even for your personal development. A lot of things there, right? So I'll be putting in all the links. And thank you guys for watching. And I'll see you in the next one.
Hey there, hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. Just a quick reminder, you can actually join our exclusive community of digital business owners by clicking the first link in the description. Get access to like minded folks and masterclasses exclusively recorded by our team.